So imagine, and as I always say in all of my children cases, imagine the person you trust with your kids, maybe the very person that hurts your kids. Welcome to another episode of Jazzyxcrime. This is the case of Gannon Stauch. Al Stauch, a military man, married to his first wife, Landon, and they had a son named Gannon. This is Gannon. And a daughter named Lena. Shortly after realizing they were incompatible, they divorced, and Al met a woman named Leticia. This is Leticia. With a background in teaching, social work, and higher education, after a custody battle with his first wife, Landon, where Al won custody of Gannon, so they were now a blended family, with Leticia having daughters from her previous marriage as well. Although they lived in Colorado, Al knew he was leaving soon for Alaska with the military, which he would have to leave his new wife, Leticia, to hold the family down while he went out to provide for the family. But Leticia didn't want him to take the job. However, he took it anyways. So the new blended family would visit Al in Alaska from time to time. During this time, Leticia filed 2 burglary claims in their Colorado home and also told her husband she was pregnant with twins, sending an ultrasound as proof. She also suggested that Gannon gets enrolled into counseling after experiencing his mom and dad go through a custody battle for him. Gannon had also started to do a lot of back-talking towards his mom, Leticia, even running after her with a knife now that his father was working in Alaska, and also being apart from his mother. So Al suggested maybe to move Gannon's bedroom to the basement until he got back home from work. So fast forward to January 27, 2020 at 6:55 p.m., Leticia Stauch called the police to report that 11-year-old Gannon had ran away and gone missing.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, the neighbors have been awesome, so yeah, they helped out.
And they could probably do more than we... I mean, we got 2 bodies, so...
Exactly. That's what I was telling my husband anyway, because he was upset, and I was like, honestly, the neighbors have already pretty much done a lot of the work.
Yeah, there's a ton of them out there, so...
Yeah. We keep getting posts and pictures, and we did find... Someone did send us a video picture or something, and he was holding his Switch case.
What?
Like his Switch, like a Nintendo Switch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not like a Switch. So they've all been trying to be very helpful and the whole situation, because so he was supposed to be here at 6 o'clock because we were going to eat dinner, and he said he was off restriction today, so he was going to go play with his friend, and his dad already told him he could play with his friend, and he didn't come back at 6, so I looked outside and saw it was sleeting, so I said, well, maybe he's waiting on one of us to come get him, so we drive to the neighbor's house, which I'm assuming he's at the neighbor's on the corner's house, and they're like, no, he's not here. So I was like, okay, maybe it's only one other person. So they kept leading us on all this chase of people who it could be. We covered a lot of houses, and at this point, the neighbors all stepped in and kind of went to the houses ourselves, and because they told me to wait here, and she went to a bunch.
Okay.
But sorry, I didn't freaked out the whole time. To add to it, I'm almost positive he is with someone that he knows, because he searched on his phone, can my parents find me if my phone is off. He also, and I'll let you look at this, sent my husband some crazy stuff that was so he sent my husband a message that says, do we have any bath salt? And then my husband said, for a while, asked me. And then, because my husband didn't think, what he was talking about. And it says, my friend said if I get some, we could play. And he has a Sonic there this weekend. Because he's big into Nintendo Sonic.
Yeah, right.
And then my husband said no. So then he said, can we play today if my tummy stops hurting? And so my husband said he'd call him. Then he said his brother has a car for a sleepover this Friday. So that's why we were trying to find some of the kids that we knew, we didn't know, other people. Brothers that had older siblings. So that's how the whole thing got started with this Jimmy kid. We feel bad that we didn't start that. So everybody goes pounding on this Jimmy kid's house and looking for, people at Gatlink. And the kid was asleep, and he didn't have an older sibling. So it kind of got, how social media gets.
He had went to a friend's house and never returned home, which made Leticia very worried. He was last seen between 3 p.m. and 4 p.m. So A massive search began with hundreds of volunteers and investigators searching the surrounding areas for any sign of Gannon. The family appeared on news broadcasts pleading for 11-year-old Gannon's safe return.
Gannon's mom, and I encourage you guys, I know many of you mothers and fathers, I encourage you just to find him. I'm so thankful for all the outpouring help that this case has brought. My son is a very loving kid. He wouldn't want harm on anybody at all. And it's so hard to just think, why is this happening to him? I have no clue. But my kid deserves to come home. My kid has a purpose. My kid has a life. And it's important to me. And it's important to everybody that's standing in this room. Gannon, Bubba, little man, mommy's hero, wherever you're at, mommy and daddy's here. We're begging and pleading for you to come home. I know that's your biggest wish, is to see mommy and daddy standing here. We're here, Bubba. We're here for you, and I can't wait till you're found, because I have hope that you are going to be found. You are my hero. You are the reason why I have life. He's so special to me. I don't think many people can understand. My child was a 1 pound, 6 ounce baby. He had a 10% chance of survival. If he survived, he would be profoundly disabled. None of that is accurate. He's gifted and talented. Do anything for anybody. So I'm begging, I'm pleading, if anybody has any type of lead, put yourself in my situation. Ask yourself, what would you do? My Savior is a great Savior. And I know I have hope and that my son's going to be here. Please come home, baby. Please come home.
The search for Gannon went on for weeks, and then things took a turn when investigators received footage from Al's neighbor.
I know he didn't come home with her, so I knew something. She'd done something.
So on February 3rd, 2020, the neighbor comes forward with home surveillance video showing a driver and a passenger getting into a truck the day Gannon went missing, and only one person returned hours later. So they suspended the search for Gannon, and they took Leticia into custody for questioning. She couldn't name who Gannon's friends were or their parents. She was also unable to recall where any of these friends even lived. In March 5th, 2020, Al files for divorce stating, awaiting extradition to Colorado charged with first-degree murder of my son. March 20th, 2020, authorities announced they believe they found Gannon's remains in Florida and filed new charges against Leticia. The bridge inspector with the Florida Department of Transportation found a suitcase under the bridge while doing construction, and upon opening it, found what appeared to be a little boy's body wrapped in blankets. Cell phone evidence shows that just before 5 p.m., Leticia asked her daughter, Haley, to pick up carpet cleaner, trash bags, and baking soda from the store. During interrogation, Leticia's stories changed several times. She claimed that Gannon had run away, that he had been kidnapped, and that he had been killed by a man named Gwyn. However, investigators found no evidence to support any of these claims. So Leticia had been the last person to see Gannon alive. There was video footage showing Leticia and Gannon leaving the house on the day he went missing.
I am Leticia Stauch, which is Gannon's stepmother.
You've been a part of the investigation since the very first time. You were the last person to see him. Is that right?
Correct.
What did you see when you last saw him?
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about anything with the case. I would more so be willing to talk about how the community needs to have faith and continue to work together and not make these false accusations, like the things that have been said that I've disappeared from the community. I haven't been there to help, but there's lots of reasons behind that.
Reasons like death threats, right?
Right. Death threats are one of them. My family's getting lots of death threats. We counted over 20-some death threats already. 2, my husband's ex-wife is living in our home, and of course I'm not coming home to do these things and to help with the family when I was kind of like told I couldn't. And then many other things that happened with the El Paso County Police Department, and then during the investigation I was told I wasn't complying. And can I elaborate on that?
Please do.
Yes. So I asked for an attorney during the interview, And I was denied that by them. I was held because they were blocking the door, and I was told I couldn't leave, and that if I would have touched them, they would have probably, said I still wasn't complying, or said I was, trying to run away or something. But during the interview, I asked several times, could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? Could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? I was denied. I was told I couldn't get nothing to drink. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I mean, it was continuously that my constitutional rights were violated.
And that's why you say that they said then you weren't cooperating with the investigation.
That's why they said I wasn't cooperating at that time, correct.
And why did you ask for an attorney at the time?
Well, I asked for an attorney at the time because there was one individual, there was two really good detectives, and so I'm not, going to talk bad about detectives, but the tactics they started to get when I would answer questions, they try to, they're detectives, they're supposed to twist, the one main goal is to find Gannon. But during that time, some of those things made me feel uncomfortable the way they were saying things, so I immediately stopped and felt like an attorney would help me with some of the vocabulary and things like that I needed help with, and understanding some of the things that they were asking.
I'm going to shift gears to what has become a huge online presence of people obviously trying to do the right thing, help find Gannon. But at the same time, sometimes it just feels like rumor mongering. Have you seen any of those comments yourself?
We have. And see, that's one of the main things we haven't been around in the public eye, because I didn't want to expose my family to it if all these things were going on. There was comments about Gannon getting pushed off the hike, and there was comments about this, and that's just not true. I took care of Gannon for the last 2 years in our home because his mother didn't want to do it. And I would never, ever hurt this child. And I know there's some questions out there about, okay, so tell me what happens. That's up to the investigations when they end up letting you guys know. But I've cooperated with them, even to the point that we were held with a gun. And my daughter, a 17-year-old who serves our country in the United States Air Force, who has never committed a crime or done anything wrong in her life, was put in handcuffs over the keys that was in her purse so they could take her car.
And they weren't in there?
They weren't even in her car. In her purse. And they were in my pocket.
You originally didn't even know it was the law enforcement officers?
I didn't know it was a law enforcement officer because when he came out, I guess he was putting his jacket on, and it wasn't necessarily his fault. He was adjusting and happened to catch me. But I saw the gun and I panicked originally and kind of thought, oh gosh, I got who's this guy? And then once I realized it was the sheriff's office, I was totally okay, but they still had a gun and told me they were going to shoot me. But I was really concerned about my daughter, asking why she was being detained in handcuffs and things like that, when that shouldn't even happen for a child. That shouldn't happen for someone who was standing inside of a store shopping, because we couldn't have any clothes because all of our clothes were here. If we came here and got clothes, we would be harassed. So she went to purchase some underwear and things like that and was put in the handcuffs in the store, and then brought out with men with guns. And that's just not okay. They could have approached me and said, hi, I'm with El Paso County. Can I please get this? Instead of the way that it happened.
I'm just going to check your chat. Doing great. Recording, still can hear you okay.
More evidence proves Leticia drove her car to a short-term parking lot at the airport and rented a Kia. She then told investigators that she had been held at gunpoint by a man named Edgardo on the day Gannon went missing from their home. Leticia then said that the man raped her and then abducted Gannon. She said she then cleaned up the area before reporting her stepson missing. Investigators tell her they are going to search her cell phone and apply for a warrant to take DNA samples. And Leticia then begins to stick tissues down her pants and says she is struggling to breathe and she's having heart problems. So the police rushed her to the hospital. Gannon's autopsy showed Gannon had been shot in the jaw, stabbed in the chest, stabbed in the back, and suffered a skull fracture. Gannon also had 18 stab wounds covering his arms and legs, and a bullet was lodged in his skull. They also found blood on some wood in his bedroom splattered different ways, proving that he was beat over and over in different ways. Leticia said that the blood in the corner of Gannon's room was a combination of hers and Gannon's, explaining that the abductor anally penetrated her and Gannon with an object, and that she was tied up during this abduction. Investigators found out that on February 18, 2020, Leticia calls a company called fakepolygraph.com, hoping to get the results of a test she took mailed to her. But she's told that her report was blocked by the company based on the questions that she was asking herself. Throughout the trial, Leticia then admitted to fatally shooting Gannon, telling a forensic psychologist that she saw a man in a black cape enter the basement of her home and that she shot him out of fear, thinking it was the burglary from all the charges she filed when her husband first left for Alaska. They take her to jail. In June 4th, 2020, she attempts to break out of jail, writing a letter to another inmate saying she will pay him lots of money to help her get through a window. And she knows she's going to fit because she already measured herself. And so the inmate turned the letter into the police. So February 11, 2022, Leticia changes her plea to not guilty by reason of insanity. During the trial, Leticia's defense team argued that there was no physical evidence linking her to the crime. There were no fingerprints, there was no DNA or other forensic evidence that could really prove that Leticia had killed Gannon. However, the prosecution presented a compelling case showing that Leticia had motive, opportunity, and means to commit this crime, showing all the time she lied and manipulated fake pregnancies, ultrasounds, I'm pregnant with twins. She cheated on Al. She lied to the police about her heart problems. She acted like there was a burglary in the house. So Judge Werner said the facts in this case are the most horrific he has ever seen, and her conduct in this case deserved the maximum punishment that he can impose under Colorado's law. Gannon's mother, Landon Buller, described him saying, "Our first biggest blessing came into the world weighing only 1 pound and 6 ounces. You fought all the odds and developed a personality and a smile that's larger than life. You became my hero that day. You came into this world fighting, and unfortunately, you left this world fighting." She told the judge he fought against someone that he loved and trusted, and someone that myself and his dad, Albert, both trusted and loved. Al Stauch asked the judge to strip Leticia of his last name immediately, as it was nauseating and infuriating to hear her being called Miss Stauch. After a short recess, the judge gave Leticia Stauch the maximum sentence, including life in prison without the possibility of parole for each murder count, with an additional 12 years for tampering with a deceased human body and another 18 months for tampering with physical evidence. To see more children cases, click right here. To subscribe so that you never miss another case, then click right here. I love you, and I will see you in the next episode of Jazzyxcrime.